And so we finally got the coins back from grading, and it came to be time to make the announcement about everything. And Don and I had worked. What's it? Yeah. So the coins were taken to PCGS for grading, and when they came back from PCGS, Don and I spent some time working on some press materials and did a couple of preliminary interviews with the San Francisco Chronicle and the AP, and those were held until a Tuesday morning when at about 10:15 in the morning, 10:20 in the morning, we finally told them, okay, you can release the story. And we really had no idea what to expect. I mean, I thought it was going to be a fairly big story, but I sat at my computer and put in buried treasure and Googled it, nothing. The third time I saw that it had shown up in a Minneapolis paper, the fourth time in an Irish paper, and then the phone started ringing. And it was a really interesting experience. The phone started ringing, and virtually every major network wanted to send out a truck and a camera crew and start doing interviews. And so that very first day, which was the day before we left for the Atlanta ANA, we had camera crews set up in two of our offices and a line of them out the door. There were about a dozen film crews, and Don was in one room and I was in the other room, and we'd run back and forth between the rooms and do these interviews with people. And it was sort of an unreal experience. I mean, I'd lived with this stuff for a year, and it had sort of become something that I was really used to. And suddenly everyone else seemed to be as excited as I had been when I was running around with these velvet trays of coins trying to force the secretary to get excited about, a Gem 20. So one of the things that happened very, very quickly is people began to speculate about where it was that these coins had come from. And those sorts of speculations started coming up for us right away. We were getting phone calls on a pretty regular basis with people who had all sorts of, oh, they're my grandmothers. I know they're my grandmothers. And I actually asked one of the people who was answering the phones, I want you to keep a file of all the really crazy ones. And one of the people who turned up in the file again and again and again was a gentleman by the name of Jack Trout. And Jack Trout was a fishing guide, believe it or not, aptly named, who was in Chile, and his grandfather had been a coin collector or something like that, and Jack Trout was absolutely certain that these coins had actually been stolen from the San Francisco Mint by a gentleman by the name of Walter Dimmick. In 1901, Walter Dimmick was a cashier with the San Francisco Mint, and for a while had access to the vault. And when someone else was being given access to the vault, he actually volunteered to change the combination on the vault and memorized the guy's combination. And then for about a week or two in March of 1901, he would go into the San Francisco Mint with a satchel, pretend to work late at night, and walk out with the satchel later on. And in early April, they discovered that there were 6 $5,000 bags of 20s missing from the newly minted 20s in the vault. And what they believed was that Dimmick had actually been carrying them out. He was convicted, although only on circumstantial evidence, and maintained his innocence for the rest of his life. But Jack Trout called up I think it was an outdoors writer at the San Francisco Chronicle and said, well, he stole $30,000 worth of 20s. This is almost $30,000 worth of gold. Clearly the same stuff. And had a lot of other interesting things to say about how the 1866 S No Motto 20 was struck to protest the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, and I don't know, all sorts of other interesting little fairy tales. Well, the writer for the Chronicle didn't bother to do any fact-checking whatsoever, just printed the guy's quotes, and on the 4th or 5th day after we made our announcement, the story went around the world one more time. I actually got a phone call from a writer for the LA Times who was I could tell by the tone of voice the woman was using that she thought she had me over a barrel. And she said, "So, would you like to make any comments about the theft from the San Francisco Mint?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I'm elated. I know it's provably wrong, and it's going to get us another week's full of free publicity." And it changed the nature of the interview. The truth, where these coins are concerned, is that nobody really knows who put them into the ground. We've taken a lot of information that we have access to about the property and the area that it was found in, and it was a gold mining area, and it's entirely possible that a prospector, something like this, whenever he had a fairly large find of coin or nuggets, would have them converted into coins and put into the ground. The cans themselves were sort of interesting because they would have a tendency to, there would be like mixed circulated coins in the bottom, and then you'd have all one date or two dates close together in very, very, very high grade at the top of a can. And looking at it, the coins came to me in the order that they came out of the ground. It's pretty apparent to me that these coins had been put into the ground, not all at once, but it would be like one small group maybe in the early 1880s, and then another group in 1889, and then another group in 92, something like that. So faced with the prospect of needing to sell 1,427 coins, many of which wouldn't necessarily appeal to serious collectors, we talked a lot about what it was that we would do in order to move material. And we had been discussing the idea of selling coins on Amazon with an executive from Amazon a few months before the deal actually came to us. And as we were in the process of preparing the deal for grading, we ended up sitting down with them and discussing the possibility of marketing a number of the coins on Amazon. And so that was one of the things that was sort of brewing the entire time we were working on the deal. Unfortunately, Amazon was interested and the family was also interested. And so when the coins actually were ready for sale, we listed approximately 1,000 of the pieces on Amazon. And the night that we put the coins on sale, Amazon began selling, and we actually took the very first coin to sell from the group. The family that found the coins actually donated an 1874 S20, the first year that the San Francisco Mint was in operation, and gave it to the San Francisco Mint and Historical Society to auction off to benefit their efforts to put a museum into the San Francisco Mint. And that coin was auctioned by Don. Came with the packaging that comes with all of the pieces in the group. And that night, Don auctioned it off, and I believe it brought $15,000. $15,000. Yeah, and $4,300 coin. Yeah, 40. Well, and anyhow, it was pretty exciting. And one of the things we really liked about it is that, this is a family who. The economy had an impact on them prior to finding these coins. They were not a wealthy family by any stretch of the imagination. And the very first thing that they did with the money that they found was actually, give something to charity. And, my experience with the family has been that that's the sort of people they are. They have very big hearts. They're already making plans to make sure that hungry people in the part of the state that they're in get fed. They're very giving, really nice people, and I thought that this was sort of one of the most appropriate things that they could possibly have done with any of the coins. Oh. And that's actually the bottom of that first can, and that's the end of the slideshow. And now I can answer a few questions for people if anyone.